Hey guys, today I just felt like doing my first book review for you guys. Really excited about this. I read this book over the weekend and I was able to finish it in a few hours, very, very short. I didn't have a lot going in because the book was so short, but I just felt compelled to write a review because this book is amazing. And the book is Night by Elie Wiesel. And as you can see, like I said, it is very, very short. So it's 112 pages, I believe. So yeah, it doesn't take that long to read at all. I've always been fascinated with the Holocaust ever since I was in school and I learned about it. That kind of sounds weird to admit, fascinated with, you know, genocide and stuff. How do so many people go along with it and not find it wrong? How did they even know who was a Jew and who wasn't? Because, you know, religion or whatever isn't on your birth certificate. Did they know by just last names? Teachers were never able to answer me that. Hitler's mother was like half Jew or something, so how can he hate Jews when he sort of is kind of part Jew? Just how did so many people go along with it for so long and get away with it? And just lots of stuff like that. It's always, you know, fascinated me. I've always read literature on it. I've always just asked questions, and just it's horrifying and disgusting and a terrible, terrible event in history. But it's also a very important part of history, and I've just always been intrigued with it. I love The Diary of Anne Frank. I have not yet read Schindler's List, but I want to. I have seen The Boy in Striped Pajamas, and I bawled like a baby. I haven't read the book yet. On that subject. This book is about the Holocaust. And Elie Wiesel in Romania. And in 1944, he and his family, 3 sisters and his mom and dad and him, were taken from their home, and they were put into ghettos in Transylvania, where he was born, in Romania, before they were taken to the concentration camps. And he was only 15 years old when he went into a concentration camp. And it's a memoir, pretty much, autobiography, memoir, whatever you want to call it, about his life in the concentration camp. He only spent a year there, luckily, but he still, the stuff that he endured, the stuff that he witnessed, what he, you know, saw other people going through, his emotions, his feelings that he went through when he was in the concentration camp. It was just, I don't even know what to say about this book. I felt compelled, just unbelievable, to discuss this book because I just loved it so much. It just hit me right in the heart. When I was done reading it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. It got my mind just running. You know, it broke my heart. I'm still thinking about it, even though I'm almost done with another book that I've been reading. I just cannot I just cannot move on from this. If it was fiction, I don't think it would have had as much of an impact. Just like Boy in Striped Pajamas. If you haven't read that book and you're interested at all in the Holocaust, or if you haven't seen the movie, I would highly suggest it. Without giving away spoilers, The Boy in Striped Pajamas is really sad, and I cried. But it could be based on a true story. I mean, obviously whatever happened in there is stuff that has happened, but the whole ending part, which is the part that, as far as I know, it wasn't based on a true story, but it's something that very easily could have happened in real life, and that's as much as I'll say. But I don't think, even though I cried at that one with The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, I don't think that it was impactful, that it hit me as much as this one, simply because this one was real. This one, he is expressing to us what he felt, what he went through, and it was just, I didn't cry, but a couple of times I almost did find myself crying, and a couple of times I made some loud exclamations and noises, and my husband looked over at me and was like, "Are you okay?" Because it just hit me. Just imagining what he went through. There's one instance, for example, that hung people all the time for multiple discretions, and they did it publicly in front of all the other Jews to make them learn a lesson. And most of the time, by this time, most of the people were so hardened, most of the inmates in there were so hardened by that point, it didn't really hit them, it didn't affect them, they didn't really care, because they had to be sort of just hardened and just, you know, not having their minds open or their eyes open to really survive in there. They were thinking about themselves. So, but there is one that he mentioned, they hung people quite frequently. It never really hit anybody until they hung a 13-year-old boy, and he didn't die right away because he was way too light, and so he just kind of dangled on the rope, and he was dangling there for hours, and he was struggling, and the Nazis made the Jews march right past him and look at the boy square in the face, and they were not able to help him. They could not do anything. They just had to watch him, the pain, the fear in his eyes, and he just talks about how that made him feel, having to watch this boy in the face as they watched him do this and march right past him and not be able to do anything. He also talks about how fathers turned on each other, and how some kids one kid actually killed his father over some food. Because his father had the food and he didn't think his father was going to share it, so he killed his dad in order to eat, because that's what they had to do to survive. Everybody was thinking about themselves. And he actually talks about how he had to watch his father die, and how there was something that he did that made him feel guilty about what happened when he died, and how he didn't get to help him the way that he wanted to. And I'm not going to give that part away, but it's just really good, and I mean, I can't even, I cannot even describe it. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I wish I could have given it 10 stars, 100 stars. I mean, I think this is one of the best books I have read probably ever. That's how amazing and impactful, and like I said, because it is real, it makes it that much harder to stomach and that much more powerful, because you know that this is something that actually happened. And this 15-year-old boy, when he left the concentration camps, he was 16. He was able to survive, and how many million Jews, 6 million Jews, were not able to survive what he went through. And you can tell it is translated by his wife. It was originally written in Yiddish, but this was a version that was translated from French. But you can still tell that the emotions that he felt when he was writing this, the writing, just the way that he wrote in this book is just amazing, especially for it being. I think that this is a very important novel that everybody should be required to read in school. I wish that I had read this in school. Like I said, I was fascinated by the Holocaust. You know, I learned about it in history. This would have been a good book that they made us read in order to really understand what happened and just how bad it really was. And just wow, like it just overwhelms me and consumes me at how amazing this is. And I also think that it was very important for this book to be written. Apparently it took him about, I think, 20 years to write the book, because even though people knew that he was a survivor of the Holocaust, he didn't want to write about his experiences, because he just felt that it was going to be too overwhelming for him, and he felt that people were going to see it as him whining and complaining and asking for sympathy, and plus he didn't want to stir up all those emotions again if he didn't have to, because he did lose his father and 2 other members of his family. So, but a French writer finally convinced him to write his story, and I am so glad that he did, because this, I feel, is a very important book, not just because of it being a memoir, but also just the way that you feel when reading it. You have to know that this is stuff that actually happened, and he didn't even see the worst of it. They were walked by the crematorium. He could smell the bodies burning. He never saw inside of a crematorium. He didn't know was anybody really close to him before the concentration camps that had gone into a crematorium or that suffered a really bad death. So it could have been much, much worse for him, and for a lot of Jews it was. And I just feel that this is people important to know, to keep the memories of the Jews, and just to make sure that books like this will make sure that us as a civilization, as a community, as a human race, will never ever forget what happened. And we will hopefully never allow something like this to happen again, because of the memoirs that are written, because of the tragedies and the emotions that we know that people have suffered when this was going on. And that's why I think this book is really important, because it just makes sure, because it is a true account, it makes sure that we will never forget. We will never have the opportunity to forget. And because of that, we'll never, hopefully, let anything like this happen. With that being said, I would definitely recommend this book if you can handle a Holocaust story, if you can handle the emotions that you will feel when you read this. If you are okay with possibly crying and maybe being angry, that was also some emotions. I was sad, I was angry at the fact that this went on for so long, at the fact that this was able to happen. I was hopeful, because there were a couple times where they had gotten their hopes up that they were going to be liberated by 2 days. 2 days he would have been set free, chosen a different path than what he did. Not going to give that away, you have to read it, but he almost got freed, and he made the wrong decision. He was still freed, but it was a lot later than, so I was hopeful that he was going to get out. I was disappointed that he didn't, when he could have. If he had just made a different decision, him and his dad could have been out. His dad never would have died. You know, hopeful, disappointed, sad, frustrated, angry, and eventually happy that he was able to get out and tell his tale, and he won a Nobel Peace Prize because of his work. He was able to get married. There's a picture of him on the back, so you can see I looked Wikipedia, he is 90 now, so he's lived a long, fulfilling life, and so that was good news, and happy to you pretty much feel every emotion that any person is even capable of feeling. I am gonna go, because this review is already a lot longer than I was intending. Again, oops. Night by Elie Wiesel. Pick this up if you haven't. 5 out of 5. Amazing. And I just want to say, have a great Christmas. And Merry Christmas Eve to all of you. And hope you guys just get the books that you're asking for, and you have a great time with family. And I'm not sure what I will do next, but I will see you later. I will make another video in the next couple days. Okay, bye.